Take it away, Rich.
Oh, me already. Hi, I'm Rich again. Many fewer slides this time, by the way. It's more like on hand or in hand demos. So I did some things and I just thought you all might find it useful. Let me just going to keep babbling here while I like turn on a short presentation, mainly because I have a special screen in here somewhere. Oh goodness, now where'd my people go?
Well, while you're bringing that up, Rich, I just wanted to say we're so excited that you guys are doing this. I know Clint and Dee and I and Letty here somewhere too. I'm sorry, your square just disappeared for me. But we just wanted to say thanks, and it's awesome that we have these user group events already, and it just means a lot that so many of you are showing up and talking about how Cribble is affecting you. So thanks for putting presentations together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know if there's anything special, especially this time.
It's better than anybody else did, so there you go.
Hey, there we go. There we go. So anyway, some random things I did. Some of these are like pretty straightforward, common, typical stuff. And the other thing was I've been doing Splunk for a long time, and Splunk has problems with some stuff. And even if it doesn't really have problems with some things, there are ways you can make sometimes your data a little better. So I've got an example of some of my home automation data that was coming in, and I fixed a few things of that. So, I still have all this stuff in here, but hi, I'm Rich, Splunk Trust member, still a Cribble noob. I will not change this for a long time. I did add a little here, though, that apparently no one actually listens to me in my own house. So maybe you guys shouldn't either, because I'm not sure I'm right. Anyway, I did one. This is the slide that's important. The B-sides for Splunk, which isn't only for Splunk. It's for pretty much anything that's kind of related to that sort of thing. So I'm actually possibly doing one like I did last week here in the user group, or last month in the user group meeting on the creating a custom function for Cribble. So if anybody has anything, it's all technical stuff. We're not doing any of those marketing things. So if anybody has anything they'd like to put in, feel free to go do that. I happen to know some people. I can make sure you can get your talk. And of course, disclaimers, because this is all wrong. Anyway, so the problem is a couple of things. One of them is big, mostly useless JSON, like just nasty, nested 4 layers deep, as is most JSON when it passes through more than one system. And I'm getting things out of my habitat elevation via 2 different methods: API calls to grab a whole pile of things, and then also it sends in events via webhook. And they're just messy. But the devices are responsible for a lot of their own attributes, and differing devices report things different ways. For instance, you'll have switches, like light switches, that report an on or an off. You've got other light switches that report a level, 0 through 100. You've got dimmers, well, 0 or 100. You've got dimmers that report a level that's 0 through 100. I've got fans that report a speed as low, medium, or high, or automatic low, or I don't know, all kinds of different things. Some of them report a speed. So I normalize all these into something that's much more usable. That's kind of the more interesting piece of this. But oh yeah, so here we go. We are done with watching the presentation. I have a page full of stuff. I am sharing this screen. So as I said, a lot of this is going to be straightforward, simple stuff that a lot of people do. A few things are a little more interesting. And they really came about because, as I said, I've got all this work I do in Splunk, and sometimes Splunk just doesn't play well with certain kinds of data, or you got to go through all these conditional expressions and junk, and it's like, why bother? So let's go through the 2 pipelines I have just to kind of see, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on these. But you can see here already that there's differing in the incoming events, which I've recorded. There's different kinds of ways to report different stuff. And these are just with fans, and I think that's all with a fan. But the first thing we do is, of course, drop, this is all of the webhooks, a whole bunch of junk that has nothing to do with anything. I could care less if there's a content length of 151. I don't know why I would care. Also, as you notice, or you might not notice, but there's a lot of these last activity events that get sent in. So we get rid of those 2. I won't even make a change here. Timestamp, I'm going to ignore that. I don't even know what's in my parser. Let me take a look at that. I think that is Oh yeah, I'm just extracting all the JSON values and getting rid of null values. So we move everything down into the root because I hate dots in field names in Splunk, as I'm sure everyone does. And here's where it gets interesting. This is where I'm starting to normalize my data. I only really have the one piece in this guy to do. But what I'm doing is I am converting name equal, well, that's a red. Let me find the right example here. The name is speed. Is this what I'm doing right? Value is high. No, I still left that one because I've got these. Name is level, value is 98. This is the one I'm fixing. So I am converting the name value pair of fields into a single one called level equals something. So let me turn that on and you'll see the level shows up down here. And now we have a level of 98. So that's one of the main pieces of this. I started to look at all these different fans and lights and go, hey, they're all reporting the same information, but in different ways that aren't compatible with one another. And rather than working too hard, I figured I'd let Cribble do the work for me. I don't even know, what do I got to rename down here for? Oh yeah, change name to item to make the field values consistent. So let's turn this on as well. And you won't see anything different here. Nothing important anyway. But so most of that is pretty standard stuff. As I said, the only thing I think is interesting is just trying to make fields then that match up with this pile. From the API, every few minutes, I call the same device and I get a big pile of JSON, and it is pretty sizable sometimes. I had to change the default size of the JSON it was ingesting so that it would actually find the beginning and end of single things and break it up properly. Because it was up to a megabyte or two, which isn't huge, but it's definitely bigger than the defaults. Time stamping, let's not worry about. So the problem with this is where this is getting the messy stuff. If you're going to use some of these things, like the commands that you can actually feed back into this stuff, you know, because you're going to do automation, this might be useful, but for the most part, it really isn't. Not for me anyway. So you could say I get rid of a ton of fields. Let's go to my out and let's, did I turn this on yet? Okay. So we extract the JSON, do a bunch of work to just get rid of dumb stuff I don't need. Which interesting, I haven't looked here. Let's see what we do. If I look at my statistics. Oh. Oh, wait, the number of fields is way up. I don't know. We'll keep going. We flatten out again. I hate nested JSON, so I pull down these attributes, and because they're the only things I actually care about in this case. And that's also no fun because I don't like having this big underscore name here. It just isn't important in this data. You might need it, you might not. And let's close some of these guys. So now we've gotten down to a much more interesting and easy to read and find your data in. And we do a little bit more work. And this is where the fun is. This is where you can extend something like this to handle all of the different values that you may have. You might have the level somewhere between 0 and 100. You'll see I converted off into 0 and on into 100 because that wasn't being handled. My fans, ceiling fans that is, surprisingly enough, actually send in a level, so they're okay. They send in both a name, like they're set on value low, but they also send in the level itself, like 28% or something. So I didn't have to fix those, but you could do all sorts of fixing here. And I'll show you why this is fun in just a moment. So let's save that. Oh, let's turn it on and save it. And all it really does is build the level field wherever something appropriate happens. So now that we have levels on things, what that gives us is all of my temperatures come through and can be plotted in one place with one simple search to find anywhere where the temperature is defined, because there's no longer a field of temperature with a value or with a level value of some other number. It's just all the temperatures I've got all show up with everything normalized temperature. I've got a couple other quick options. Why did I just do this last one? Oh yeah. in any case, so you can see all temperatures, and I can't get to this because my little screen share thing's in the way. There we go. As you can see here, I've also gotten all of my fans and lights normalized so that they all can be plotted on something like a trellis. You could do anything you want with this, but at least they all show up with the same scale and the same kind of data where it makes any sense. So, and I'm only looking at a couple here. I've got, I don't know, 70 different devices hanging out here. So there's a bunch. Most of them are off most of the time or on most of the time, or, look, my kids. Anyway, so it makes life a lot easier when you get around to the actually trying to use this data to do something. So let me start this back up. I think I have like no more slides until the end. A recap, which is, okay. So what I did was I trimmed a lot of useless stuff, a lot of null fields, flattened nested stuff down into the root, renamed a few things. It's just a simple use case. It can be extended to all sorts of other cases like this. And that's pretty much standard things that everybody thinks of, kind of your first go-to, what do I do if I'm going to do something in Cribble? But this is something that people don't think of when they're, because they don't always think about the end use and how would it be easiest to use the data, which is converting all these different things into consistent format fields that are easy to find, use, and do whatever it is you need to do afterwards. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. And again, if you have any ideas on a paper for the B-Sides for Splunk, feel free to put that in there. splunkcommunity.com/call-for-papers. Well, CFP.
Thank you. Woohoo. Any questions? Silence.
Silence. They're all muted.
Yeah, one question. I saw you used raw.search something. Is that equal to match and tester, or do you know if it's advantage to use it, or does it use differently than the other ones like match and or test?
Yeah, there are, I don't remember the exact details. There are subtleties between all three of those, I think. I think I can use the match.test the same way as the raw.search. I wrote some of this stuff a long time ago, like way back in the very beginning of my Cribble super noobness. Now I'm just a kind of Cribble noob. And I don't know a whole lot of JavaScript. So if you saw me last month, I'm like, I don't know a thing. I'm just pretending, and it worked out. But I think you could do match.test the same way, but you can't do match whatever the other one was. It behaves differently in some cases where it does something slightly different. So I think they're all three in the same ballpark, but slightly different. And I'll take a suggestion if somebody who actually knows would say, no, you should switch it. I'm good. I'll do it.
Expected joined. Woohoo.
Yay.
Hey,
Just in time to not know anything about what we're asking questions about.
Oh, well, so I didn't necessarily have a question specifically about that, but it did remind me of a discussion we were having earlier this week or last week, whenever that was, talking about JSON versus CSV in terms of once you're done with it and getting into Splunk. I don't know what people have in terms, what thoughts they have. So, one consideration is, well, CSV is a lot less data because you don't have the field names, where the particular source we were looking at is very verbose, and a lot of times, the field name in JSON is like 15 characters, and the value is most of the time 0, right? And I thought, oh well, and somebody else was talking to us like, oh yeah, let's just convert that to CSV because that's going to make a lot more sense. But another person's point was that with JSON, you don't have to worry about what the specific format is, right? Because if the source has a different format, then you don't have to go and update a source type and add a field to your source type definition for CSV. And I was trying to think about it like, well, okay, that makes sense too, but like seriously, 0 for a value 90-something% of the time, and the field name is over 15 characters. That's a huge waste. So I don't know if people have run into that and what they've done. I was thinking, well, do we kind of rename the fields to give them shorter names and still keep it in JSON, or any other ideas? Experiences, thoughts?
So I think I'd take the best of both and go key value. Like, I don't like CSV a lot because the events are pretty much unreadable. Like, you always have to table them or whatever to actually really understand them if you tend to look at the events. And as much as I like JSON, the display format in JSON for JSON and Splunk is terrible waste of display space. So when you have a JSON event, it gets like 1 line per value, which makes it huge. And that's why I usually try to stick with key value. Like, auto extract in Splunk works. There's very little amount of syntax related characters that are waste of space or license or whatever, but you can still just read the events if you see them.
Okay.
I mean, is the problem that you're talking about specifically because those events are often, is it null or they have a value of 0?
They have a value of 0. That's the problem.
Yeah,
If it was
you can't
null,
just be like,
sure.
"Meh."
And the other option is just say, okay, well, null and 0 is the same thing, and we'll just remove them. As long as you're aware of it and there isn't actually a difference, then I guess you could. But in other cases, it might not be 0, it might be 2, right? And still a label that's 15 characters long. So I guess if you're converting them either to a more concise JSON or key value is...
Well, you can't really assume that a 0 ends up being null anyway, because even if it is 0, like the light switch is off, like in my case, or at least for this particular case, the other thing to keep in mind is that, especially when you're using something like Splunk, if you have too big of a gap between data points, you can lose them off of time charts and things, or have difficulty with getting stuff to display properly. It was actually 0 for a long time, and if you keep repeating that 0, then you know it's there, versus you sometimes have to expand your boundaries out in order to catch the last time it wasn't null before it even shows up in your chart. When I know that I still have that light switch. So that is something to keep in mind. So sending in something like KV pairs or CSV with 0s, as long as you don't transform something into a null and make it kind of disappear.
Yeah, that would, you would have to be really careful if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Is there an approach to report on how many nulls you dropped or things like that? Then you could possibly know about whether you're dropping too many things that are actually data versus no data.
Yeah, I think for that approach, it would have to be very specific, handling who likes artisanal code, right? You want something generic.
Oh, hey, my just a short update. The little statistics button thing finally caught up. Apparently, I just clicked it way too quick after I just turned those on, and my little server's kind of slow. Yes, I'm dropping. My difference in the overall length is almost 100%. The overall drop in my size is like 86%. So just because I clicked that button and it showed nothing. I'm like, that's not right. I'll just move on. It did catch up. Hey, XPack, your name looks slightly wrong. You don't have umlauts in there. Why not?
Does Zoom not support umlauts? God damn it.
Or did you just give up?
No, I just realized that. I think that's because this is Zoom on my mobile, and I use that I have no idea when I used that last.
Okay.
You have left your house? What is going on?
Oh no,
How
I
is that
just
even
left.
possible?
I just left the office room.
Oh, I see. It's just
I don't think we want to know what room you're connected from.
Oops.
Maybe not.
Well, Sean, I saw you were tweeting about excitement recently. What were you? Do you mind talking about what you were excited about?
We've just been going through a project to get our syslog stuff off of syslog ng over to Cribble. So I've been spending the past couple of months going through all that, and it's been fun. Been learning a lot of good stuff, and yeah, one of my coworkers actually threw that together and sent it to me. So I was like, I'm going to share that thing.
It was good. It was fun. We enjoyed it in our internal Slack also.
Good. We got to have fun.
Yes. Well, I guess one benefit to having a smaller group is that you all have a much higher chance of getting something in the raffle. So, do you want to do that, or do you want to still talk about stuff? Anybody else have stuff they want to talk about? What do you want to talk about next time also?
Yeah, please, somebody else.
I mean, you are hilarious and informative, Rich. I can understand.
Thank you.
People want to keep hearing from you. But nice, X-Pack.
I think I'm going to start making stuff up here soon, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, okay, that's on my laziness. I don't have a home environment set up for this, and public release for the work stuff is just gonna take too long that I don't bother unless it's for an annual thing, which is unfortunate, but
yeah. You have to release Cribble for Raspberry, for ARM, to make it possible for the smaller setup at home.
True. And I mean, another possibility is that we have someone come in from the Cribble group and internally and talk, but I'd much rather it would be things that y'all want to talk about. So.
I really do like how you had the office hours set up. It's like, well, if there are any questions, if not, here's a presentation. That's pretty cool. So if we can have a backup of that, although that might make us relax too much. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is this is for the users. This is not for us to just continue to blart out whatever. I mean, I am from marketing. What can I do? But yeah, so please consider it. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, obviously. We're all getting started with this product, I think, for the most part. So things you have questions about, things you want to talk about, stuff that sucks is also totally valid. So please don't feel like you can't say something that is bothering you about the product. And of course, Slack is a good backup for that as well. But I guess if nobody has any further questions, I'm going to go into raffle off. We've got 1 hoodie and 1 water bottle this week. I don't have a hoodie to show off. Does anybody have their hoodie nearby to show off? Because my husband stole mine.
And you didn't steal it back this time?
And even what?
You didn't steal it back this time?
Yeah, I did not get it back from him this time. He was actually wearing it today as opposed to his. He also stole my honeycomb hoodie. So he wears that and then he wears the Cribble one. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people who are not from Cribble in the raffle. So
I guess I need the 12-sided die then.
Yeah, you need to. Do you have your camera set up ready?
I'm just going to pull it down here. Well, the 12-sided die that never gets any love except from Barbarian. So here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Are we? Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, let's try that again. And that rolled off, so that doesn't count.
You need a bigger.
There we go. 10.
10. Well, that is Ralph.
Woohoo! Nice.
I'll ping you. Essentially, message me with your mailing address and the size that you want on the Slack. Okay.
All right. And 1.
That is X-Pack. You already have one of these water bottles, don't you?
Yes, I would actually give that to somebody else because I don't think I need to stock up on them.
You don't need to hydrate any further. All right.
Well, I have already been swamped with water bottles by the other company.
The other company, I see.
And by you.
I have a few water bottles as well, but
yeah, we need to come up with some more swag though. We're working on it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's throw it back in the pool. And 7.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Garrett, Where are you? You still there? You are there.
I also have a water bottle already, so
Yeah.
I will also throw it back into the
This is
pool.
the downside to having just a few of us in here.
So who doesn't have a one?
Who doesn't have one?
All right.
I have
Let's
one.
go again.
I think everybody has one.
It's still
Yeah.
7, so let's
You're
do
gonna
it
have to
again.
get another one.
I'm wondering a third time, and
12 doesn't work. 1 again. Wow.
Oh!
Okay.
All right,
Oh,
I'm just
too
gonna.
far. Hold on. 2.
Well, that happens to be you.
I
So,
don't have a water bottle.
Well-
I'll go with it.
Then we're set. Message me your mailing address.
Will do.
And then we'll try and come up with some different swag in the future. But I don't want this to be a reason people don't invite people to the user group so they have a better chance at getting the swag. And it seems like an anti-pattern I don't want to encourage.
so does anybody have an idea on something they want to see or would like to see? Or I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see things that are coming out of the pipeline soon. That would be neat to see. That not these pipelines, but like the next release or what you guys are working on, or things like that. I'd love to see a little bit of something on that.
I know some
Maybe
people have heard about AppScope, but
Right. I wanted to say that. I don't know if this is a log stream user meeting, but maybe a demo or some use case presentation from AppScope. I played around with it, but yeah.
I will ask about that. I don't know how. I mean, I think we're
Integrate it
probably ready to talk about it. And yeah, we have another release coming out pretty soon as well. We could talk about. But hello, Axel. You're arriving probably at the tail end of this meeting at this point.
Sorry about that conflict.
Is there anything you want to hear about?
Well, maybe. Hopefully it's not, I guess, out of scope for everybody else, but I'm really new to Cribble. Trying to sell that we absolutely need a log broker in our environment. And one of the goals that I want to get away from is the fact that all of our inputs are like really tightly coupled. So for example, we use Splunk apps for an Oct integration, but what if we don't stay with Splunk forever? What if we don't stay with Sentinel forever? What if we don't stay with whatever we build in-house forever? So obviously for all the streaming sources, send it to Cribble, let Cribble be the part that actually sends to your SIM. But what about the actually like collecting API logs? And yeah, Cribble can run scripts, and yeah, Cribble has like basic JSON inputs. But once you start introducing things like how do I do state management if I'm scaling across multiple worker nodes? How do I do secure credential storage? Like more complex job management stuff, I don't really see existing within Logstream today. And so I want to talk about, well, I was thinking about maybe it makes sense to use Adobe Airstream, or not Adobe, sorry, not Apache Airstream, not Airstream, whatever. The one that, whatever, you use other technologies in order to be able to do the job. Say again, Airflow?
Apache Airflow.
There you go. That's what I'm going for. What other technologies or techniques actually make sense for the job, more complex job management parts? Nick, do you have any ideas?
Not offhand. I know some of the companies in the Airflow space, but I have not used the tool myself.
Gotcha. How do other people do this, right? Or do they just keep it on their Splunk HFs and call it good? Or
it's a good question. How do y'all do this? Is everybody in Splunk people and never any other platform? Ooh. Oh, I have a.
Oh. Hey, this is, hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah.
But we are in the process of moving our data ingestion components from Splunk and Splunk TAs over to Cribble. The intent is, one, to centralize all of those data collection items into the Cribble platform. Also gives us a lot of flexibility on where that data is going to go. For example, you can keep the entirety of the full text log source and send it off to storage in our database like Azure Blob Storage.
Sorry, the audio is getting worse.
Yeah, you're having some kind of interference.
Sorry, I'm connected over virtual
space. Was that parsable, Axel? Sorry.
Yeah, so if I'll restate what I think I understood from Jim. It sounds like Jim's having the exact same problems I am, where he already has a bunch of Splunk TAs or whatever else his ingestion is, but he wants to be able to centralize all of his ingestion platform. So that way, if he does have to move from, well, I don't know why he'd want to, but he wants to centralize his ingestion. I want to do the same thing. And there's a lot of advantages doing that. I see the same advantages. I guess if Jim can hear me and I'd be able to hear him, what I'd probably dive into is, I guess, the more complex use cases. How do you guys do credential management? When you get to like really, really verbose log sources, like, and you actually have you had to work with running the same query on multiple workers, on how you checkpoint, so to say, you know, I was at log 1000, I start now at log 1001. How do you do rehydration if things break? You know, if you know the credential went stale over the weekend, so now I have to create a new one and I have to catch back up 3 days. Like all that is part of more complex job control, and I'm wondering if Jim's team has hit that yet. Tell me what you guys have worked on, and you know, if it's the same issues that I'm expecting to see.
The best way to monitor Cribble to make sure Cribble's actually working the way I expect it to.
So sounds like Jim and I are in the same boat, but probably we'll get to the same fork down the way. What were you saying, Garrett? I might have caught the tail end of it.
Oh, I was just saying monitor Cribble to make sure Cribble is doing what it's supposed to do. Make sure it's not dropping events. Make sure it's not sending your events to the abyss when you actually want it to send to be, or making sure the processor isn't getting hammered, or that you have, you know, dropping events before it hits the queue, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But the best way to monitor Cribble, or the easiest way to monitor Cribble, insert monitoring tool here.
So, but take the Cribble generated metrics, run queries, run alerts based on the Cribble generated metrics. Cribble can already do generic, run a script. That script either succeeded or it failed. If script failed, just write an alert, go fix it right away. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to foresee and I'm trying to plan for are, okay, it is the CPU being hammered. Now I need to make sure it's run on multiple nodes. It is like, oh, our refresh tokens are constantly being invalidated or expired. You know, instead of, oh, I see it now, I'm going to go fix it. Well, how do I catch back up, or how do I make sure that I can cycle those credentials or store them securely? I guess that's just the space that my head's in. I don't think that log stream itself is like, obviously it's meant for like streaming data, and it has the additional ability to collect some API endpoint data. But a lot of the problems that I'm focused on, I don't think like log stream was built for that. Could be extended, but that seems nascent at this point.
Perfect. It sounds like there's been quite a few good ideas on future talks.
Yeah, and I definitely think I'm going to reach out to Jim and see how they're approaching it. I'm assuming Jim's on Slack.
Yeah, I've seen him around there. He can definitely join us and and share the software. No, I don't want to quote that, but yeah, let us know.
He doesn't need to give me source code. I just want to I just want to beat up another engineer's design. And tell
terrible open source joke. Sorry. All right. Cool. Looks like. All right, I've got the address from Ralph. Okay, anybody else want to bring up anything else? We're going to meet again on the second Tuesday of March. And yeah, I did want to bring something up. We're doing this via register via our website, because that's how we are set up at the moment to get the Zoom link. But I'm really, my plan is to eventually provide a Zoom account for the community to use, and then I won't need to be here to let everyone in and so on and so forth. We do kind of want to know who's attending so that we can make sure to have enough resources to provide, swag and invite everyone to events when we finally have events again in person. But I don't want to make it more painful to join than anybody wants, so I apologize for that.
I have a question. I was trying to write up a review in the Gartner site, and I was having issues getting validated, and it was just going around in a loop. Obviously, I just set up an account on Gartner. Did anybody have issues like that?
Yeah, I know a couple of you wrote a review. I
didn't have any real problems.
Yeah. What is it saying that is not complete about your account? It's too bad that that we lost our in-house former Gartner consultant from the call. He had to go. But yeah, is it saying something specific about what's missing? You said it was saying
I'm just getting a call. Just 1 second.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. It said that it was not able to validate my profile. I work in financial services, and I put financial services from my work email address, but it validated the email, and then it says I can't validate your email. It's kind of one of those chicken and egg situations. So
that's obnoxious. Yeah, Victor's gonna look into this and see if there's anything weird going on. I mean, you don't
I've reached out to their support. I've asked them, like, just a general query, because I just got the email today saying that you have 5 days to sort this out. If not, your review would be declined. And I spent 20 minutes writing this thing up. So I was like,
obnoxious. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And for those of you who don't know, we're trying to get 25 reviews on the Gartner Analyst site so that we'll have our own section or something. I'm trying to remember what that was, but super appreciated if you can sign up and give us a review. And obviously we want unvarnished, not just, it doesn't have to be just a positive review. I'm just saying. We're interested in your feedback. And yet Victor is a good person to talk to, Victor Lin, who's here on the call with us, about any kind of like problem you have with your email address at Cribble or anything of this sort. It can connect you with the right people. So we'll do our best here. Anything else, Eugene, you want to?
Yeah, I was just thinking about a couple of things. One thing we discussed kind of as we were spinning this up was whether or not people are interested in having their own kind of more convenient time zone things, even while we are virtual. I didn't hear anything additional about that, so I don't know if people kind of are fine with this, or it's not at the forefront of their mind. But that's something that I don't know if there's interest. I mean, of those who are here, I guess this time works for you to some extent, right? Survivorship bias. But that's something to keep in mind. And I don't know if Pai heard from anybody else about that.
I didn't actually hear from who was it who was gonna Aleem, who's gonna possibly start up a like +8 hours time zone group, but he seems pretty busy right now. So, but yeah, it's your chance to do a power grab if you're wanting to do meetings at a different time or possibly with a different format, however you want to do this, right? I know I'm talking a lot, but I would rather it were non-Criblanians, as we call ourselves, doing the talking.
And it's starting to once we're physical, and that's actually one thing I forgot to or I realized we probably should do is when we're speaking up, kind of say where we're from. So I'm in the Boston area, and that will eventually help us organize by area once we're physically, or it's nice enough outside that we would just want to, I don't know, hang out in the beer garden or something.
Yeah, now is not a good time to have outdoor meetings in most.
No.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe next time, Rich is ready.
Inverted it.
I feel next time we should go through and like introduce ourselves, because that seems like we'll make it a little easier to know who to ask about what. But, cool.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
Thanks again, Rich.
Yeah.
Pai
Thank you
for the talking. Rich Fez's talking is pretty much as good as Rich Fez's typing.
Is talking.
Is talking and typing.
Oh, I should change that.
Yes, only during the presentation, though.
Just while you're here.
Oh, gotcha. Just while I'm there.
Yeah. If you're not we have a user group planning channel on the Slack. So if you want to get in there, if you're not already in there, and help discuss what we talk about next, that would be awesome. Okay, last chance
Excellent.
to make trouble. Going once, going twice.
3 times a lady.
3 times a goat scream.
I have to decide if I put it by the microphone or by the camera. They're not in the same
Microphone.
spot.
Microphone.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think
Prudence
it's
the safety goat.
Instead of the safety pig. That's a great
That's-
idea. I don't know if
sounds
somebody
very
has
safe.
done that.
Yes, AVE. I'll send a link out in the Slack.
Yes.
I'll have to find one where he's actually got Prudence in there, but yes, he definitely has Prudence the safety goat.
Nice.
Prudence. Okay.
Yes. Well, what
Name for a
if
goat.
it's a safety goat? What good better name could you pick?
No, I think it's a
Prudence.
great name. I wouldn't have come up with it myself, but I think that is a great name. It
Cool.
just doesn't sound very safe right now. That's all. All right. Bye, folks.
All right.
Thanks for sharing
Bye,
with us.
everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Later.